Hey, welcome back. Today, I'm going to make a pile of gold coins in Blender, like this one, using a rigid body simulation. So let's get into it. Okay, so here's the coin that I made, but I won't be talking about how to make the coin because I already have another video that shows how to create a 3D model from an image. And I used that same process to create this coin. So I'll leave a link to that other video in the description below if you want to check it out. For the material, I created this rusty metal. If you want to download it, you can find it on my Gumroad page. There's a link in the description below, and it's free to download. All I ask is if you do download the material, give this video a thumbs up. I plan on adding more stuff to my Gumroad in the future, so you might want to subscribe and turn on notifications too, so you'll know when I post new videos. So I applied that material to the coin, and then I adjusted the settings and tweaked the color to make it look like gold. Anyway, enough about that. So here's my coin, and I also have a ground plane that I extruded for the objects to land on. And I should mention that over here in the scene properties, I have my units set to imperial and inches. Now, the first thing I need to do is select the coin, then hit Ctrl A and apply all transforms. Then right-click and set origin to geometry. Then select the ground plane and do the same thing. Ctrl A, apply all transforms, then right-click and set origin to geometry. And now I'll select the coin and go to Physics Properties, click Rigid Body, set the type to Active, and set the shape to Cylinder. But depending on your object, you might want to choose one of these other shapes. Just don't choose Mesh. Trust me, this one will slow your simulation to a crawl, so avoid this one unless you have a really powerful computer and a lot of time to wait for it to process because it's going to take a really long time. Next, I'll open up the surface response section, and in here you can adjust the friction and bounciness settings if you want, but I'll leave these set to the default. And now I'll open up the sensitivity section, and in here I will enable collision margin and set the margin to 0.01. Next, I'll select the ground object, go back to Physics Properties, click on Rigid Body, and I'll set the type to Passive. And then I'll set the shape to Box, and I will enable Collision Margin and set the margin to 0.01. And I'll set the friction all the way up to 1. And now I'll move the coin up above the ground, and I'll come down here and drag out a new window. And I'll switch to Timeline and press play. And you see the coin lands on the ground. But if you look over here, you can see that the weight of the coin is 2.2 pounds, which is way too heavy for such a small coin. So I want to give the coin some mass that is the same as a real gold coin. So I'll come up here to the Object menu, go to Rigid Body, Calculate Mass, and then I'll select Gold. And now you can see in the physics properties that the mass is 0.0994. So now I'm going to give the coin a little bit of rotation and then click play again. And it looks pretty good. So I'll hit Alt D and create some duplicates. And I'll give them all some random rotation, and I'll move them up a little higher than my original coin. And then I'll hit play again, and everything's looking good so far. Now, rather than going through the whole process of duplicating and moving and rotating all the coins to make a bunch of them, I'm just going to switch to a file that I already created. And here you can see all the coins I created. So now what I want to do is come over here to the Scene Properties, open up Rigid Body World, and scroll down here to the Substeps and Solver iterations. These are both set to 10 by default, but For this one, I set them both to 100. And this will cause the simulation to run a little slower, but it will be a lot more accurate. And now I can hit play, and all the coins will fall down into a pile. And I'll let the simulation run until the coins stop moving, or at least slow down enough to where they're barely moving. And then I'll hit pause and take a look at the pile. And you might notice that some of your coins are landing with the same side up, like these here in the front. So I'll select this one here, then I'll move the timeline slider back to 0, and come up here to the coin I selected and rotate it 180 degrees. And if I want to make any adjustments to the settings for the coins, I can select this coin at the bottom, and then come over here to the physics properties, and I can change the mass or the friction or the collision margin or whatever. Then I just need to select all the coins up above, then shift select the coin at the bottom, so it's the last object selected, then go to Object, Rigid Body, and then click Copy to Active. And this will copy all the settings from the bottom coin to all the other coins. And now I'll hit play and run the simulation again. And once I'm happy with the pile, I can jump over to the modeling workspace where I have my camera set up and make any adjustments I need to make to center the pile within the camera view, and then hit render. So that's about it. Here's another simulation I did. This one was a bunch of nuts and bolts falling into a bowl. And I used that same rusty material for the nuts and bolts and for the bowl. I just changed the metal color, roughness, and the amount of rust that I wanted. And here's a bunch of skeleton keys that I made in Modo and ZBrush a long time ago. I brought them into Blender, and I used the same rusty metal material again. I just changed the metal color, roughness, and adjusted the amount of rust I wanted for each one. So again, if you want my material, you can download it free from my Gumroad page. So yeah, that's going to do it for this one. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and post them below. And as always, if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.